It's a 158-year-old law that is being challenged in the Supreme Court. Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code effectively makes homosexual relations criminal, categorizing all unnatural sex as against the law. The law dates back to 1860 and is a remnant of the British rule. The fight to repeal it has also been a long one. So why in this day and age is homosexuality still considered illegal in India, and what is this case all about? To understand this better, I'm speaking now with Supreme Court lawyer Anand Grover, who is of course one of the legal luminaries arguing to repeal Section 377. I'm also speaking today with gay rights activist Harish Iyer. Welcome to both of you. Mr. Grover, first, let's start by explaining to the people watching this about why Section 377 is still an issue in law in this day and age, while the world has moved on.
Well, it criminalizes acts between men, homosexual men, and even non-homosexual men, and amongst transgenders and men who are homosexuals and transgenders. Men and women, though they are included in the act, in the amendment to 375, they are actually taken out, and if it's a consensual act between a man and a woman, then it is not rape, otherwise it is rape. So it's criminalized, and because of criminalizing of sexual relations or sexual acts between these groups, what happens is they are subject to indignity by the police, blackmail by associates, friends, touts, what have you, and it undermines their dignity. People don't want to come out. Harish is a brave person. He's lucky. He has been able to come out. He has the support of his family. But not all people are in that position. So because of these indignities that they suffer, they are actually not allowed to, they cannot come out, which means they cannot develop into full personalities, which the Constitution envisages that every person in India should be allowed to be himself, herself, and bloom. So they are respected, they have dignity, they have privacy, they have equality. That's what the Constitution envisages, and that's the crux of the case. Why it has come out now? Basically, as you know, Delhi High Court, we won the case. Yeah. Supreme Court knocked it out, and then we filed a curative petition. But while the curative petitions were pending, a number of petitions, the Puttaswamy, the privacy judgment came. And in the privacy judgment, the Supreme Court 9-judge bench said that, look, the judgment in Kaushal by the Supreme Court is wrong on issues of privacy and a few other points. So that gave the room for us to move several other petitions, and there now they are saying, okay, we are deciding whether Kaushal is right or wrong. That's why it's going on very quickly, and I expect that, after the hearing, which will not be very long, maybe a week at the most, maybe less, the judgment will be out before the end of September.
It's an interesting point for this journey, and I just want to get a view in from Harish Iyer here, because right now in this case, legally, Harish, there's not really anyone who's opposing the decriminalizing of homosexual relations. Society as a whole seems to have come to terms with it. The world has moved and changed. Do you think that the law as it stands today actually is used to harass people, or that is a thing of the past? Do you think that society has changed enough?
Society has changed, but to say when Section 377 was reinstated in its original form, the number of extortion cases had increased. Just as Anand was saying, there was the number of there has been a spike in the number of extortion cases. When you have a lacuna in the law which can actually criminalize consensual sexual behavior between adults, and even when they're doing it in private, it becomes a tool in the hands of these extortionists who use it to harass people, to take money, and all that. And what are we really asking, Tamanna? We are just asking for us to be left alone. That what we do in the privacy of our bedrooms, as long as we are adults and it's consensual, we should be allowed to do that. We are just asking the state to stay away from our bedrooms. And that's a very reasonable ask from the Supreme Court, and that should be a reasonable ask to ask anyone in a civilized society.
No, absolutely. But no one's really saying no. No one who really has any power or position is now seeming to deny this. And this is where I come to you, Mr. Grover, because even in 2013, when the Supreme Court overturned the Delhi High Court order, they left it to Parliament. They left it to Parliament to decide. At that point, all top prominent politicians came and said that they are against the criminalization of, homosexuals. This is completely wrong. But no one moved to do anything. What do you make of that? Because of that complete lack of movement, it has come back to the Supreme Court now.
Well, the thing is that after the imposition of 377, in 1860-61 by the British, our own middle class people have started thinking that what the British did was right, and that's part of our culture, which is completely contrary to all the writings before the British came in. The British imposed their law, and our culture never allowed criminalization of same-sex relations. Now, a lot of people believe that this is actually our culture, that is 377. So that is within the polity of our parliament. And I think there is dissonance in the political leadership in all political parties and people who are in the legal field, including judges and lawyers. Most judges and lawyers do not agree with the criminalization of same-sex relation because they know that just because you have sex which is consensual, you can't be put behind bars for 10 years and so on and so forth. But parliamentarians are not discussing that. They don't even think about the imprisonment. An ordinary person thinks about that thing and they say, my God, if you talk to an ordinary person and you tell them, do you know that if you have sex with the person, male or female, and you have these acts, which are penile, non-vaginal, then you can be sent to prison. Like penile oral sex between a man and a woman is a crime under 377. Okay, so you can be sent into jail. Well, not that heterosexuals are punished for that, but that is the thing, and that's absurd, and people realize that. So they support us because of that. But there is a dissonance between parliamentarians and political parties and the ordinary person and people in the legal fraternity largely. But it's changing. Even politicians, as you have noticed, have started saying that we don't want all that. But I think Shashi Tharoor did not build up a momentum and he just could not do it. But I think in the future that will happen. But today the issue is that this is a draconian law which has to go, and our constitutional procedure is that if it is against our fundamental rights, which it is, then it has to go.
No, of course, you're referring to Shashi Tharoor moving a private member's bill, which was not even entertained by his own party members. It's something perhaps that politicians just want to stay away from. I just want to ask you your view about one more point, Mr. Grover, that in the 2013 judgment, the Supreme Court gave as one of its reasons for overturning it, the limited number of cases or action actually taken against two adults indulging in consensual homosexual acts, and said that there were just so few that it did not warrant any kind of real law. Do you think that there is still that mindset out there that in the larger scheme of things, this isn't really a big issue? It's not really impacting so many people.
Well, I don't think people think it's not a big issue, but as far as the legal position is concerned, the Kaushal judgment by Justice Singhvi was wrong, and now in the Puttaswamy judgment, all the judges have said that it is wrong on this issue, that even if one person has to go to prison because of this act, and if it is called upon, the Supreme Court will declare it unconstitutional. So even one person, as far as the constitutional scheme of things are concerned, the person's fundamental rights are violated. That's it. There is no question of a majoritarian concept under the Constitution for violation of fundamental rights. Any person whose fundamental rights are violated by a law, you can go to the court and the court has to strike it down if it finds that it violates fundamental rights.
Harish, if Section 377, and as most people are expecting, is thrown out this time round by the top court after this hearing, what do you expect to change for LG, people who are homosexual?
I think the number of extortion cases would come down. So that is one thing. But if we really assume one thing that the Supreme Court verdict of 11, 12, 13, the Kaushal judgment has taught us, is that we can't afford to be complacent. We have to be at it. We have to be on ground. We have to be aware. We have to be updated, and we have to keep working on our advocacy every now and then, because what we have realized is nothing is forever. Even something that we get as basic as a fundamental right, we have had a judgment and it's being taken aback. So what we need to keep in mind is that, yes, there will be lesser number of extortion cases, but also we will have to be at it. It is a continuous process. We can't rest on our laurels, and we will have to be at it all the time. And yes, there will be. It's not the end of all troubles, but it's the beginning of the end of all troubles.
Well, let's hope those fundamental rights are restored to all Indians, no matter what their sexual orientation is. Thank you so much, Anand Grover and Harish Iyer, for speaking with us. Of course, today was day one of that hearing, but we will be tracking where that case goes here on Bloomberg.